You're listening to Literally First Class, the podcast for female founders behind multi-million-dollar brands and businesses. I'm your host, Keri Ford, creative director turned 3-time award-winning coach, real estate investor, mom, and the one-on-one private advisor for multi-7- and 8-figure firms. If you're ready to make your next million, expand your impact, and lead with even more confidence, you're in the right place. Let's take your life and business first class. $1 million contracts. What do you do when you lose one? This question is coming in from Kelsey O'Neill, who wants to know, what do you do with limiting beliefs around things being too good to be true? She said that it feels like the other shoe is always going to drop when things are too good to be true. So this is related to $1 million deal that she had that fell through, which she shared publicly on my Facebook wall, which is why I feel comfortable sharing it here. Otherwise, I wouldn't add that context. But listen, when you are playing a bigger game, everything is bigger. There's bigger losses. There's more people involved. There's more people affected. You're taking a bigger swing, right? And I love that she shared in that post that her perspective is also that God is showing her what's possible and that $1 million deals are there. But also she can't seem to shake this feeling that it's too good to be true and the other shoe might drop. Well, let's talk about that. This is my zone of genius, is unpacking some of those limiting beliefs so that we can rewire them and create a new experience of safety within your body. Because that's actually what we're talking about. Self-sabotage is self-protection, which indicates there is a perceived threat. Whether or not that's a real threat is really up to the circumstances, the variable factors, and what's actually happening. Right? So there's perceived threat and there's actual threat. Actual threat, fire in my house. Actual threat, bear outside my window. Actual threat, someone chasing me in an alley. Perceived threat, more money than I know what to do with. Perceived threat, a man or a woman or whatever that shows so much love that it feels uncomfortable. Perceived threat, having something go really smooth and be really easy and have it happen fast. All of those can feel like a threat in the system. So we need to stabilize and we need to focus on capacity to hold so that it feels safe and not too big for the nervous system, because even things that are really good, too good, can feel too big. And if you feel like it's too big, you're going to go back subconsciously to creating what it is you know, which is not so big, not so fast, not so successful, not so much money, not so much love, not so much of the thing that's bringing you fear, even though you cognitively in your mind want it. This is where we start to have this inner tension. And it's also where we can be wildly unprepared if our nervous system is not ready to hold that, to keep that. Let's take a relationship, for example, and how this might play out with healthy love. Someone is showing you a lot of interest. They're pursuing you, the thing that you said you want. You were chasing maybe emotionally unavailable partners before this. Now someone is, really pursuing you, really showing you attention and intention. And it starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable because you start to wonder what do they want? Is this real? Am I missing something? Why are they so into me? And therein lies the work, because assuming this person is actually a healthy, safe person and their intentions are pure, we can push away the very thing that we say we want because we feel unsafe with it. A few things can be at play here. One is, of course, based on past trauma that can dictate our future. So let's say in the past, you've had partners that have shown you an incredible amount of attention and love, and it turns out that they were abusive or a narcissist. And so now anytime that happens where someone shows you interest, it's very alarming, right? So the work therein lies really separating those two experiences. How are they different? How are they the same? And then learning how to discern and orient differently. But in addition, this healthy love might feel very scary because you don't know it. It is uncertain and unfamiliar in your nervous system. Your nervous system knows not safe, chaos, right? Your nervous system knows unrest. So the minute you have somebody that presents differently, it feels like a threat, because even though you don't want more of what you had, a terrible partner, an unloving relationship, it's what you know. And so you subconsciously continue to play out that pattern and attract those kinds of partners until you heal the wound that attracts them. Because on some level, it's actually what you feel safe with because it's what you know. And this trauma is so layered. It is so nuanced. Things, that happen throughout the course of the timeline is one part of it. Another component is what happens as a result of the trauma, what becomes coupled in the nervous system, which are associations. And so that's where some of these quote unquote limiting beliefs can come from around what's possible. But I often see this, especially in business, if it's not coming from a business trauma, meaning a big fall, a big, failure, if you will. I hesitate to use that word because we're all really just learning. But you've never really been here before, wherever here is. And so that presents a new edge, and a new edge is uncertain and unknown, and therefore unsafe. So how do we create safety around an upper limit? Well, first, we have to get to know some of the beliefs. What are they? Why are they there? So, for example, in the post, in the question, the belief is when it feels really good, it feels too good to be true, that the other shoe might drop. So that's coupled in her nervous system. And I know she's not the only one with this. I'm talking to anybody that feels this way. So it's like, wow, that happened fast. Wow, that was easy. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, that's a lot of money. Wow, that's a lot of love. And it's like, hold on. And then skepticism sets in. Because somewhere at some point in time, maybe you lost something that was really good. And then you learned, I shouldn't trust that anymore. And so not only are you practicing discernment, but you are limiting and avoiding the very thing that you say you want. Because it's scary. So then we have to rewire the nervous system. We have to go into what's happening in the body as we think about that particular thing that you say that you want. For example, in this case, the $1 million contract. So you say, I want $1 million contract. And I say, great, here's the stack of papers. I push it across the desk. Go ahead. Here's your $1 million contract. What do you feel in your body as you look at that contract? And that's where we start. That's the access point of somatic work, where we start to navigate the felt sense experience, right? Which is what happens inside your body. We can also identify certain thought patterns and certain behaviors as a result of those sensations in the body. And if you want to know everything you believe, we look at your current results. So that would be step 2. And then the other part is we want to get to know your sabotage. We want to get to know what happens when you go into protection mode. What happens when your body feels unsafe? Where do you tend to go to historically in your stress responses? They're called self-protective responses, or SPRs. Where do you historically go? And this is what I work with my clients. That's our leadership archetype. We use it and apply it to business, but it's really not exclusive to that. It's how do you deal with conflict and stress? How do you start to protect yourself from even really good things? And then what happens next? So if you want help with that, you can work with me in the academy. You can click the programs below. There's a link below. But the SPRs are protective responses that are meant to do what? Protect you. And they're meant to go undetected. Because the thing about the autonomic nervous system is that it's automatic. When you see a fire, you don't say, body, get up and run out of the room. You run out of the room. Your body automatically does that for you. It takes over and you leave the room fast. That is automatic. But what happens when it does it with $1 million contract or love that's amazing or gobs of money that are just now being injected into your bank account? You have more money than you know what to do with. Now we have a new set of challenges. And that's why I love working with this kind of woman, the woman that is playing on this scale, because she has already a certain level of resiliency, right? But also there's a different set of challenges and things that occur. Still on a nervous system level, just different and amplified. And what I love helping her do is equipping her with the tools and healing so that she can go out and fucking change the world even more than she already has. Like, we can't afford to lose women like that. We cannot afford to have women that aren't playing all out, all in on what it is that they were put here to do. They have far too much purpose and impact and influence and legacy to leave behind. That's too great a cost. These are a unique set of challenges. So we have to handle these things with nuance and mastery. And so we have to get to know how sabotage shows up, because not only does it cost the world too much to lose her, it costs her company, it costs her team, it costs her too much, quite frankly. It costs her too many dollars and too much time to waste sabotaging everything that she's getting that she actually wants. Can you imagine you get everything you say you want and then you subconsciously push it all away or create chaos? Some examples that I see here of this are things are working really, really, really well in their business, and then they start creating a bunch of new things. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. That's great. And I also want to check in and just see like how you're feeling about this. So if something's working really well, or maybe it's not working well, maybe they're in a little bit of a rough patch, a liminal space. But instead of sitting in that discomfort a little bit longer, or instead of doubling down on the thing that's working really, really well, they're like, yeah, I think I'm going to go over here and like launch another company or start another nonprofit. And I'm like, hold on. I'm not saying that's always the case, that that's sabotage, but a lot of the time it can be. Our ability to be with discomfort can absolutely dictate the level of success that we can have and hold. So that's just one example. Another one is in relationships. I see an upper limit. They're so comfortable being in charge that they have trouble softening and receiving, especially in their partnership. They're used to calling the shots. And so even though they don't want to call the shots subconsciously with their partner, they don't feel safe to let go and know that their needs will be met by their partner. They are used to being and driving and doing and going, but then to learn to trust and let other people in, that feels very unsafe oftentimes. Again, I don't want to speak in generalizations because that's not everyone, but it is oftentimes what I see, especially when usually she's the high earner. So a lot does rely on her ability to perform and be profitable and have her mind in the game, right? Like her family, her quality of life, their quality of life relies on her income. And that's a very unique, really hard thing to hold as a woman, along with all of the other societal pressures that we have faced and been programmed with in Western culture here, at least. So that's a whole other thing that we see. So they're really good at business and there's no money wounds anymore. And they do trust themselves deeply, but then love is the upper limit. They aren't as successful in love that they are in business and money. or even relationships. Maybe they crave, intimate relationships with female friends, like having vulnerable, safe relationships with women. So that's another upper limit that I see. And then I see upper limits around visibility, and also like, for example, with this one, $1 million deal, it's like the next big whatever deal. I have an example of a client. She had never done private fundraising. The company is a $50 million company. And she was like, Keri, I've never done this before. How the fuck am I going to do this? And I said, well, you're going to start by practicing with me and tell me how many offices you're pitching to. It was over 600 offices that she's pitching to. She had never done this before. And she was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I said, that's okay. We're going to figure it out. So she runs through it, and I'm reading her nervous system the whole time. I'm listening to what her body says. I'm listening to who she's being as she presents it. And because I know she knows her shit with the company. I know she knows who they are, what they're about, what they're, wanting investors to put money into. I know that she knows all that. So I'm listening, and I'm like, how do you feel as you say all that? She's like, I'm trying to get it right. I'm in my head. I'm disconnected from myself. She was speaking fast, right? And we made a couple tweaks. And a couple months later, again, a few rounds of other things and interviews and calls and some more tweaking and some more practice with her nervous system, $5.5 million gets wired in their bank account. And she had gone from $0 to $5.5 million. She had real-time support, though, to calibrate her nervous system and be able to do that, to show up and take a seat in herself and present to hundreds of companies. And then to continue down that path, with, I think it was like 16 or 20 people that said yes to move forward. And then to close those deals after never having done it before. It's equal parts, obviously, skill and nervous system. But without the nervous system work, it is incomplete and insufficient, 100%. Because who we're being determines our ability to have and hold those things. So it's another upper limit is just we've never been here before, right? It's just another edge of success. It's why so many people are afraid of success. They're not sure that they can hold that. They're not sure, what it's going to require of them. Is it going to be more time? Is it going to be more responsibility? Is it going to be harder? Am I going to be stressed out all the time? But you wouldn't be stressed out if you knew you could handle it. And you had the support from a team. So that's another upper limit that I see, and then visibility I brought up, another level of visibility. So you might have all the success in the world with your online e-commerce store or, be fine showing up in boardrooms, but then, oh no, you're on a stage and now you're in front of an international audience and there's thousands of people staring at you and now you're delivering a personal story and message. Like, whoa, that can really bring up some big fears. For a while, I know that I had a fear of being super visible and feeling that it puts a target on my back to open me for attack or judgment or rejection. And on some level, that's still there a little bit, but I've worked a lot on it. So it doesn't hold me back and paralyze me anymore when I go live or when I go to hit record on a podcast. Or I show up for a training, or I show up with a bunch of new faces at a champagne club dinner where I'm like leading the whole room in the somatic leadership workshop, or I'm immersed at a retreat with people for 5-6 days at a time to hold their nervous systems. That used to paralyze me. I couldn't speak in front of a room, let alone more than 5 people. I would turn red and blotchy. I would start speaking fast. People would look away as I talked, and I learned how to command a room. And it was partly through practice, and it was a lot through somatic work, through creating safety in myself and knowing that I actually can't be rejected. If I don't allow myself to experience rejection, there's nothing to reject because I inherently accept myself. So visibility is another thing, especially when someone, and I'm sure as you're listening to this, you're thinking of all the ways in which you probably are seeking deeper visibility, writing a book, writing more books, talking on stage, talking on multiple stages, speaking on bigger stages, starting a new brand, building a new company in a brand new industry that you have no experience with. And it's wild how that can show up as stuckness or procrastination or confusion. Those are other ways that sabotage can present, because that lack of clarity keeps you in inaction. So you don't ever seek to pursue the thing that you say you want, right? So working through that to even start to pursue it is part of it. It keeps you from achieving it. But if you want to go deeper into understanding more of your upper limits, what that feels like, how to identify your sabotage, and what's happening on a somatic level, click the link below, because I have it's a 3-day training. It's called the Limitless Leader Playbook, and we're actually getting ready and gearing up to roll out and release the Limitless Leader Playbook 2.0, which will be a more compact training that'll be elevated a little bit more, and specifically for female founders that are at $2 million and up. But this particular training is really for any woman in leadership, anyone that wants to work through an upper limit, learn how to identify that, work through it, and move beyond it so that you stop doing that. Right? It's not to say that you'll never do it again, but you'll sure as shit have like way more awareness around it, a deeper understanding, and a lot more compassion around why you sabotage, knowing that you just feel unsafe. So you can click the link below. It's 3 days. It comes with a whole playbook that you do with me. We do it together. It's pre-recorded, but we do it together in the training. And each day a new video presents itself. They're about 30 minutes long each, and you'll use this playbook to support you along the way. We have more than 300 people that have gone through this training, and it has been incredible feedback. People are learning more than they ever have before about their body, their nervous system, and how to apply this to leadership, and why this matters as you continue to evolve and grow into even higher levels of success. So click that link below before you exit this episode. And before you go, I would so appreciate it if you just dropped a review either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, so that this can get into the hands of even more listeners just like you. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. Keep it first class.
Thanks for tuning in to Literally First Class. If today's episode inspired you, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps us reach even more incredible women like you who are ready to level up, lead with impact, and make first-class moves. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, keep dreaming big and taking bold action.